The first bill on the calendar today is House File 3378. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 3378. Number 3 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to human services.
I recognize the member from Rock, Representative Schumacher.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. House File 3378 before us is a one-off bill, I would call it. In October of this last year, the Department of Human Services entered into a contract with Optum to provide assistance in 2 areas of fraud prevention. During the first phase of the contract with Optum, they did a 4-year claim audit of the 14 high-risk programs within the Department of Human Services. Per the contract, Optum was sent an initial report back to DHS at the end of December. When that report came back, most of it, nearly all of it, was redacted, citing Minnesota Statute Chapter 13.37. Included in those redactions were areas with the general titles of general vulnerabilities and policy recommendations. We want to be able to do our job as legislators and bring forward policy recommendations that deal with some of the prepayment issues that the department is facing. We want to be partners in this process for not only fraud prevention, but loss prevention, and making sure that what the department is processing is what the legislature initially intended. And with that, members, I would ask for your support.
There is an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Moeller moves to amend House File number 3378, the first engrossment. The amendment is coded A6.
I recognize the member from Ramsey, Representative Moeller, to your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We heard this bill in the Judiciary Committee, and one of the things that we learned was that by giving this information to the chairs and staff of the Human Services Committee, that there were no really consequences for violation of disclosure of what is defined as security information. We understand that some of the redactions were made so that we didn't create a roadmap for fraud for bad actors. And so we really want to make sure that that information also doesn't get disclosed by anybody who is reviewing the reports. And so to do that, we decided to offer this amendment to make those viewing the report subject to the data practices penalties that are both civil and criminal. You know, we in the legislature aren't subject to the Data Practices Act, but those in other branches of the government, the executive branch, are subject to that. And if they violate data practices, there are these civil and criminal penalties. So this is basically saying we would be entrusted with this information just like state employees, county, city employees are entrusted when they also receive information that's not public. I am going to withdraw the amendment, but I did just want to speak to the reason why we view this as important. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The amendment has been withdrawn. There are no further amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 3378.
Third reading. Any further discussion to the bill? I recognize the member from Hennepin, Representative Knorr.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I will urge you to vote green on this, but also remind members that under the rules of the House under Section 610 requires members to maintain confidentiality. So in case of anything, I appreciate Representative Chair Moore's bill to ensure there's guardrails and safeguards. I wanted to remind the body that Rule 6.10 governs confidentiality, and so we will adhere to that section, and hopefully nothing is going to be disclosed in public for information that we've received privately. So thank you, and I ask you members to vote green.
Further discussion of the bill, I recognize a member from Dakota, Representative Roach.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in opposition of this. I understand what is trying to happen here, and I appreciate the authors for trying to have a little bit of transparency, but there is no such thing as a little transparency. We either have full transparency or we have no transparency. My colleague and I on the other side of the aisle, we just passed the bill in the Elections Committee that said no NDAs. And now this would require elected officials who gather this information to not be able to speak on it. I find that incredibly ridiculous. We should be transparent to the people that brought us here, our constituents. And so I am vehemently against this. This is a taxpayer-funded report that the taxpayers should be able to see. It's their report. It's not a few members of this body's report that sit in a specific committee. It's the people's report. And this language, as it's been amended, does not provide transparency to the public, and therefore I urge a no vote.
Further discussion, I recognize the member from Rock, Representative Schumacher.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I appreciate the support for this bill. Of course, with the discussion today, we do know that if anything in this report were to be leaked, that there would be severe consequences, and that we would want our Ethics Committee to go to the furthest extreme that they could with punishing any member who would release this information without the proper authorization. House File 3378 is seeking for members of the Human Service Committees who would have to start the process of writing these policies to get access to the report to do our job. We don't want to give the public a roadmap for fraud, which is why this bill has been written the way it was and went through the committee process for the way it was. And I would ask for your support.
I recognize the member from Anoka, Representative Niska.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Minnesota's fraud epidemic has become an international story, and frankly, that should embarrass every one of us. But the real damage is not just reputational, because fraud isn't free. It's paid by hardworking Minnesotans who are struggling to make ends meet, by vulnerable people who depend on these programs for food, autism services, housing stability, and other essential support. These real-world costs are exactly why House File 3378 is so important, because if we're serious about fighting fraud, lawmakers need the truth. We need transparency. We can't fix vulnerabilities we're not allowed to see, and that's why this report should have never been redacted in the first place. The Walz administration commissioned it, used its findings to inform proposals to rein in fraud, and then denied us, the lawmakers, access to the full report. How does that make sense? The people responsible for writing and passing our laws should not be kept in the dark while the administration decides who should be allowed to know about its failures and about their vulnerabilities. That's not accountability. That's not transparency. It's the closed-door culture that helped create Minnesota's fraud crisis in the first place. Passing House File 3378 is a simple test. If we want to stop fraud, we should start by demanding the full truth. Members, please vote yes.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll. The clerk will call the names of the members participating remotely.
Jones.
There you go. Aye.
Jones votes aye. Rarick.
Rarick.
Rarick votes aye.
Rarick votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 107 ayes, 27 nays, the bill is passed and its title is agreed to.